Is Rafael Devers back? It feels like he might be after he had a big series against the Cardinals over the weekend.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox Monday through Friday straight to your favorite podcast feed. And the best part, it's free, so you might as well tune in because Locked On is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Happy Monday. Welcome to the show. I do apologize for posting today's show a little bit later in the day than I usually do. I was actually at the crazy Red Sox game last night where they put on an absolute clinic at the plate and it was raining runs. So I got back home pretty late last night. So definitely a little bit tired today, but it was so worth it because what an offensive showing that was by the Red Sox. I mean, just a great series overall. The Red Sox go and take 2 of 3 from the Orioles, and then they come home and they sweep the Cardinals in the home opening series. Now, game 1 of the series was rough. I mean, it was basically a shootout, just both teams scoring lots of runs. Red Sox ended up winning the game 13-9. So they came out hot because they had a 5-run first inning and then they didn't score for a while after that, but the Cardinals kept chipping away in that game. Walker Buehler made the start and went a little bit deeper than he did in his first start as he did complete a full 5 innings in game 1 of the series on Friday. Beautiful 65-degree day at Fenway. Perfect baseball weather that day. I definitely would like to see a little bit better from him. His fastball velocity has definitely dipped again, which was something I talked about in spring training as being a bit of a concern with him. His fastball velocity was at about 93, 94. Definitely needs to increase that a little bit because he was getting hit a lot in his outing. Now, he wasn't walking people. He only recorded 1 walk in that game, which was promising. So it's not that his command is a problem. He definitely still has the command. He's just getting hit hard. And we don't need him to be this stud in the Red Sox rotation. All we need him to be is a serviceable back-end starter. So if he can eat innings and get us about 5 innings every start, every 5th day, and he can be decent enough to be a 4th or 5th starter, that's all we really need from him because Lucas Giolito and Brian Bayo are going to be coming back. And speaking of pitching, I am going to be talking about a pitcher who made his major league debut in the Sunday night game a little bit later on today's show, and a trade that came seemingly as a result of that start. So that's all on today's show. But more importantly, the Red Sox offense has been a machine lately. I mean, in last night's game against the Cardinals to complete the series sweep, and not only a series sweep, but also a doubleheader sweep because they played earlier in the day on Sunday as a makeup game from Saturday that got rained out. So they completed the series sweep by putting up 18 runs. It's crazy. I was at that game and the Red Sox just kept rolling offensively. Granted, they were facing Cardinals pitching, which has not been the strongest. And they started off well this season, but then I feel like the Red Sox really exposed them because this lineup is really difficult to pitch to. So then their pitchers, all of their struggles were put on notice in this series against the Red Sox. So the bats were really cranking in that game last night. And Rafael Devers was a big reason for that offensive onslaught. He went 4 for 4 in that night game and recorded 3 RBIs. He also took a walk in the game too. And his batting average after that game is now up to a 263. And think about it. Early on in the season, when he just struck out a bunch of times and was not making any contact, and when he was taking a long time to record his first hit, his numbers were very bad. Then he slowly has increased his average each game ever since he got back on track. He finally recorded his first hit of the season on April 2nd at the Orioles, and he ended up recording 2 hits in that game. And ever since then, his average just kept increasing from an 0.87 at that point up to a 111 as he recorded another hit in the next game, and then up to 167, 176, and now 263. And ever since that game where he got his first knock of the season, he has recorded at least 1 hit in each of the games since then, having a 4-hit day last night. But also in the first game of the doubleheader, he hit his first home run of the season, absolutely cranking a fastball. So it appears like he might be back. And that's what Red Sox fans absolutely needed to hear, because it was really tough seeing Devers struggle and not be able to make any contact at the plate. And the biggest thing I feel like is that early on in the season, in those first few games, he was really feeling that stress of switching positions, and it was getting in his head a lot, because I don't think people truly realize how difficult that actually is to switch positions. You go from being in a role where you're both hitting and playing in the field to all of a sudden half of your game is being wiped away from you, and you're no longer playing in the field and you're just hitting. And I think David Ortiz made switching to a full-time DH a lot easier than it should be. He just made it look so easy, but it's not usually that way. And I think for Devers, he was in his head about becoming a full-time DH. And then that escalated into the fact that he was struggling because of that. So he was in his head about not having gotten a hit yet. And it just resulted in a lot of very poor at-bats by him. But then when he got that first hit out of the way, now he's making an impact in every single game. And that's what we really like to see from him. So it's good that he's developing that confidence again. And this turnaround has been historic from him, because through the first few days of the season, he was one of the least productive players in the league. He went 0 for 19 across his first 5 games, striking out 15 times. Despite being a 3-time All-Star and 2-time Silver Slugger, he was having a really tough time transitioning from an everyday third baseman to a full-time DH. And that was the root of the problem to begin with. But over the ensuing 5 games, he got plenty comfortable in his new role, because he went a combined 5 for 8 in the Red Sox doubleheader against the Cardinals on Sunday, blasting his first homer of the season in the 5th inning of Game 1. Dating back to last Wednesday, he's 10 for 19 with 7 RBIs and 8 runs. He's now batting .263 with an .825 OPS on the year, both of which are marks that seemed unfathomable just a few days earlier. He's also the only player in Major League Baseball in the modern era to go hitless with 15 plus strikeouts over a 5-game span, and then follow that up with 10 plus hits over his next 5 games. So he made history both with how bad he was to start the season and with how much of a turnaround he has had now. It's a completely different change in him. His demeanor is different. He's smiling a lot. He looks a lot more confident out there. So I'm telling you, all it took was him getting that first hit out of the way, and now he's making a lot better contact. And consistently throughout his struggles, he wasn't swinging at the wrong pitches. He was definitely having good discipline up there and had good swing recognition and selection. It was just more that he was late and wasn't able to make contact. And he hit .272 with an .871 OPS in 2024. So now he isn't far off his normal pace. It's crazy what difference a week can make, truly. He's in the 2nd season of that 10-year, $313.5 million contract extension. So the Red Sox have to just hope that that slump is behind him and that he's back on track to being his normal Devers self, producing at the level that we want to see him produce at. By the way, the Red Sox are also 5-0 since he got his groove back. So that is notable because obviously if Devers is hitting, the rest of the lineup is better and the team overall is better. The Red Sox do open a series with Toronto tonight with first pitch at 6:45 p.m. Hopefully weather turns out to be well enough for them to play because I don't want more double headers. At least with the Blue Jays, they come to town more so they can reschedule it for possibly an overlapping off day for both teams later in the season if it does have to get rescheduled. But so far, nothing on that yet. But it's significant that Devers has turned things around because for those first few games of the season, people were starting to worry, like, is Devers going to end up not panning out? Is he just too mad at the Red Sox? So he's not going to be able to produce the type of numbers that we need him to produce with this team. Is he going to be a guy who the Red Sox can't rely on a day-to-day basis? And we can say no to all of those because this truly looks like the Rafael Devers that we all know and love, a guy who goes out there and makes things happen offensively. And for him, obviously it was hard at first having to make that transition from an everyday third baseman to playing DH, but maybe it would be better for him moving forward. Maybe mentally he'll be in a better spot because he won't have to dwell on making errors in the field and having that distract him and carry over into his at-bats. And the fact that he can focus on just his hitting, hopefully he can put up some really consistent, strong numbers this season moving forward for the Red Sox. And it really fuels the Red Sox offense. I mean, lots of guys are hitting. Alex Bregman is an absolute monster at Fenway Park, crushed a home run in last night's game. Wilyer Abreu continues to hit really well. He was the hero in game one of the doubleheader that the Red Sox played yesterday, hitting the walk-off hits for the Red Sox to win that game in extra innings. So he's just been really good all season at the plate. You have Trevor Story, who's waking up, Tristan Casas, who appears to be waking up too. So lots of good things happening with this Red Sox lineup. Christian Campbell just continues to mash and impress. So lots of guys who are contributing right now to this Red Sox offensive onslaughter. And it's really fun to think about if you're a Red Sox fan, because being an opposing pitcher is going to be a nightmare against this lineup moving forward. And Devers is a big part of that. Huge thanks to him for being able to get back on track. And I'm sure it's great for his stamina and his energy and his will and desire and motivation to want to continue to keep moving forward every day with this Red Sox team and continue to play 100% at his best. So hopefully that continues. Hopefully the Red Sox offensive domination continues. But coming up, I'm going to be talking about the pitching side because the Red Sox did have a pitcher who made his major league debut on Sunday Night Baseball, and he brought some good stuff. When it comes to fueling your body, quality matters. That's why Just Ingredients is changing the game with clean, high-quality products designed to support better health and peak performance. Just Ingredients offers an NSF-certified line of protein powder, electrolytes, pre-workout, and creatine, all rigorously tested to ensure they're free from substances banned by major athletic organizations. Just Ingredients has also partnered with two-time MVP Bryce Harper, who trusts their NSF-certified sports line to fuel his training and recovery. I love that Just Ingredients prioritizes wholesome, nourishing ingredients without the artificial junk. Whether you're recovering after a workout or need an energy boost, their grass-fed whey protein and pre-workout deliver real results. Visit justingredients.us and use code LOCKEDONMLB for 20% off. And for more wellness tips, follow at just.ingredients on Instagram. Always helpful to make sure that you are keeping track of your health and making sure that you're getting the right nutrients in your body. So Just Ingredients is 100% a good tool for you to utilize. The Boston Red Sox are super dominant right now. Their offense is an absolute machine, and it's been super fun to watch as a Red Sox fan because this lineup is going to be tough for opposing pitchers to throw against. I mean, just too many powerhouses in this lineup right now, and guys who are really stepping up and contributing, especially guys like Wilyer Abreu and Christian Campbell, guys that we were a little bit uncertain about going into the season, more so with Campbell because he just got his call up to the majors, so people weren't sure how he was going to perform at the major league level relative to how he performed in the minors. But then you have Wilyer Abreu, who had a really strong rookie season, both offensively and defensively, as he also did win a Gold Glove last season. But we weren't sure how he was going to perform going into this season, if that was just a fluke of a rookie year or if he was going to continue to improve on that. And so far, he certainly has picked up where he left off last season. So lots of guys contributing offensively. But from a pitching standpoint, they have guys who are going to be coming back in Lucas Giolito and Brian Bayo, but those are the biggest reinforcements for them that they're getting back. And in the meantime, they have had to utilize other pitchers. For example, Sean Newcomb, who has come up and made a couple starts for Boston, that had a really good spring training in which he impressed the Red Sox a lot. So he got his opportunity. Richard Fitz is in the rotation right now as a starter. He's scheduled to pitch tonight for the Red Sox. So guys who are helping them to fill those gaps until their regular starters come back. But because of yesterday's doubleheader, it kind of threw off the routine of who was going to start when they pushed back Richard Fitz, because he would have pitched in Saturday's game. So instead, he didn't pitch in either game of the doubleheader and is scheduled to pitch tonight. And they called up prospect Hunter Dobbins from AAA, who looked really good in his major league debut. And it's a lot to ask for somebody to come up and pitch in the majors for the first time ever on national TV on Sunday Night Baseball when it's a huge audience. But he did not look at all like he was afraid of the pressure. Gave up a couple base runners early on in that first inning, but I said as long as he just settles in, he should be okay. So it was really fun to be able to experience him pitching for the first time in his major league career. And you could tell that the nerves were certainly there, but that's natural for any pitcher who comes in and throws for the first time in the majors against this big crowd at Fenway Park. He probably had heard a lot about the environment there, but you can't really prepare for that until you're actually in the moment. And he certainly looked like he was prepared. He went out there and he got the win in the game, went 5 innings, giving up 8 hits, but just 2 earned runs, walked 2 and struck out 5. So he looked like he had good control for the majority of that outing. And the biggest thing I liked about him was that he was able to show off a strong arsenal. He had a fastball and a curveball, both of which he was throwing really well. The fastball was traveling at about 93 to 94 miles an hour, and the curveball was not that far behind. He also had a sweeper that he threw in there a little bit too. So he was showing off a variety of pitches in his arsenal in that game last night. And he had only pitched 24 innings in AAA. So people weren't sure what to expect, because could you argue that he could use some more development at that level? Sure. But honestly, there were a lot of good things in terms of the mix and the command that he showed in that game that he arguably could just slot in as either the number 5 starter or a spot starter or a long relief type of pitcher, because he looked like he was prepared to pitch in the majors. So his 2 pitches that he utilized the most between his fastball and his curveball had an average 14 mile per hour difference over the course of his outing. He was able to effectively stack those and play off of his other breaking balls, which were both good and bridged well with a nice splinker to get a 30% whiff rate in that debut. Now, for context here, Jack Leiter, Sandy Alcantara, and Charlie Morton all have a whiff percentage around 30% this season, and Garrett Crochet leads all qualified Red Sox in that statistic at 27.7%. So definitely very impressive stuff in that game from Dobbins. 6 of Dobbins' 14 whiffs came on the curveball, which he threw in the zone only 25% of the time. His fastball, sweeper, and curve were all very similar in terms of spin rate and may have been effectively tunneled to fool hitters with the giant discrepancy in movement between the 3. Obviously, 1 start of 5 innings is such a small sample size, and we can't really draw huge conclusions based on that. But having that kind of performance on really short notice, because he found out he was getting called up the night before. So that's really impressive too. Didn't really have a lot of time for mental prep. That shows that he was impressive regardless, even though it was a small sample size to go out and pitch that well on that short of a notice. And the Red Sox did need a start like this because outside of Garrett Crochet, the Red Sox rotation hasn't been incredibly sharp. Even Tanner Houck, who was the Red Sox best starter last year, has not been at his best so far to start the season. So they really needed that type of performance, and they got it from a guy who the Red Sox really saw a lot of value in. I think they liked a lot of what they saw from him over his time in AAA, and they said, hey, he deserves a shot in the majors, so they gave him that shot. So when it came to his breakdown of pitches, he had the four-seam fastball that he did utilize the most, and then the slider, curveball, and sweeper. And he also had a sinker that he threw in there a little bit too. So definitely a good mix of pitches that he threw. And I think they're really high on him because he's a guy who the Red Sox saw a lot from in terms of his ability, and the fact that he already has that good mix of pitches, that's a great start and a great foundation for being successful in the majors. Because one of Tanner Houck's biggest problems that he ran into earlier on in his time in the majors was that he didn't have a third pitch that he had developed in his arsenal to be able to fool hitters with. So then every time he would see a lineup the third time, he would start to struggle because they would get a grasp of his two pitches that he was utilizing. So that's something that Dobbins already has a good start on, is that mix of pitches that he utilizes. And what I really like about him also is that he has a good work ethic. I actually had him on the podcast back in December where he talked all about his career so far and his path within the Red Sox organization. Take a look back on a little bit of that conversation. What made you make that decision of pitching is what I'm going to do in my career here?
It really wasn't up to me. I had a heart-to-heart conversation with my college coach, Tim Tadlock, and I was a third baseman when I went to college. I was a two-way player, but at the time, our third baseman was Josh Young, third baseman for the Rangers right now, and it was going to be his junior year. He was already a two-time All-American, and our coach was basically like, hey, you're probably not playing third base this year. I was like, no kidding. So moved to the bullpen, made a couple spot starts, and then I showed up the next fall throwing low to mid 90s. And he kind of was like, hey, it's time to make a business decision here. That's probably where you're going to make your money. I was like, all right, sounds good. So he kind of took it out of my hands and made it for me.
What would you say is the most challenging part of being a pitcher?
For me, it's the only getting to play once a week. You know, I grew up wanting to be the guy. I wanted to go play 2 games a day. I wanted to be out there every inning. But you know, the mental side of pitching, you know, the off days, if you have a rough outing, especially as a starter, you're sitting on it for 5 days. You know, you just kind of got to live with it. And you're like, all right, what can I do to not have this feeling again? But then also on the flip side, you know, you go out there and you have a great outing, and then you get to, you know, hey, you know, this is enjoyable. I feel good. I'm going to keep this momentum rolling. But for me, it's like, I don't know if it's because I played every day for so long. The on-field stuff, I just kind of get into a mode and I go. The hardest point for me is the kind of the days in between starts where you're just kind of sitting there. You're trying to stay locked in. You're trying to kind of pick up on the hitters and stuff like that, but it still crosses your mind like, man, I wish I was out there.
During spring training, you know, obviously there's some opportunity, I'm sure, to interact with some of the major league guys who have gotten to that level and are where you strive to be. So have you gotten any advice from some of those guys that you've kind of stuck with and taken with you as you progress through your career?
Yeah, the biggest one was Chris Sale. I actually got to rehab when I was drafted. I was in the middle of Tommy John. So I got to know him really well, and he kind of told me, is like, no matter what level you're at, be who you are. Don't let it change your game. Like, just go after hitters and kind of have that bulldog mentality. That was pretty big for me to learn that from him before I even really threw my first professional inning. So that, and then a lot of off the field stuff from guys, you know, when I was in AAA last year, kind of picking the brains of the guys who've been up and down, been there, know how everything works there. So kind of just learning how to be a professional off the field as well, not so much on-field success, because you are who you are. At this point, there's stuff that you can tweak. You make some pitches better, work on some small things, but for the most part, you are who you are. So just learn how to handle your business off the field and let the on-field stuff take care of itself. It's cool to be a Red Sox. It's to put on the same uniform because I don't think they've changed the uniforms in I don't know how many years outside of the City Connects. So it's like you're wearing the same uniform as them, but at the end of the day, it's that same challenge. It's like, all right, this city expects to win. They expect whoever's wearing that jersey to do their job, and so you better show up ready to go.
So as you can see and tell, Dobbins definitely wants to be there, and he was so willing to work so hard going into this season to get that opportunity in the majors. And from speaking to him and just learning more about his attitude, can't think of a lot of people more deserving of getting that call up than him. I mean, he's just one of those guys who's like, every single day, what can I do to improve? How can I be a better baseball player tomorrow than I was today? So I'm very happy for him. I'm very excited he got that opportunity. And it leaves a lot to be desired when it comes to what the Red Sox are going to do when it comes to their rotation moving forward. Does he take Sean Newcomb's place as that fifth starter in the rotation? Is he a guy that the Red Sox kind of send back down to AAA because they feel like he needs to get more reps there because he hasn't thrown that many innings? And now because they have guys coming back soon, they don't feel like they need him in the rotation. Do they keep him up in the majors because they want to see more of him and maybe have him throw in the bullpen? Because then you have a guy like Cooper Criswell who has struggled a little bit in the outings he's had this season so far. Now, to be fair, the defense behind him twice, both on Friday in the home opener and in the Sunday night game, did not help him at all, as he should have been out of the inning a couple times in both of those games. But granted, he hasn't had his best stuff so far this season. So do they have Dobbins replace him in the pen and be a guy who maybe can pitch 3 innings out of the bullpen? So there's a lot of different roles that the Red Sox could maybe potentially put him in moving forward. So the question is going to be, what do they do with him? And I think we'll find out soon enough. But coming up, they did make a trade on Monday that seems to be correlated to the start that Hunter Dobbins did have on Sunday and how much he impressed. So I'm going to be discussing that a little bit next. There's nothing better than catching an MLB game live. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, and the smell of ballpark food. And if you're looking to go last minute, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever. With last-minute deals, all-in pricing, and lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the stress out of buying MLB tickets. Plus, ticket prices drop as Game Time gets closer, meaning you can score an incredible deal. Game Time is the official ticketing partner of Locked On, and as the Red Sox start to get deeper and deeper into their season, I can count on Game Time to help grab tickets that meet my needs. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Game Time 100% will save you money on tickets. I don't use any other ticketing vendors anymore because the prices that Game Time offers compared to any other ones are just too good to turn down. So I 100% recommend it if you are looking to sit in good seats, have a good view, and have a great time, and also feel like your money's worth. Invest in Game Time. I promise you, you will not look back after the first time that you purchase with them. They are great. I 100% recommend. The Red Sox are having a fun season now. The first series of the season certainly was a struggle for them, but ever since the offense has clicked over the last few games, they have been a fun team to watch. And not only do they have an offense that's an absolute powerhouse, but they have some pitchers who certainly have potential. And Hunter Dobbins, who made his major league debut on Sunday Night Baseball, is one of those pitchers who certainly showed a lot of potential. And another pitcher who showed potential was Quinn Priester, a guy that the Red Sox acquired at the trade deadline last season. But they felt like they don't really need him anymore. So they traded him on Monday to the Brewers. Now, this is a good thing about the Red Sox is that they have pitching depth now. For the last few seasons, a big topic of conversation was the Red Sox not having any pitching depth. Now they finally have enough pitching depth to where they can trade some of that and still be okay. I think they liked a lot of what they saw last night from Hunter Dobbins and his outing to the point where they felt confident enough to where they could say, okay, we don't really need Priester here anymore because there's not really a spot for him because we just have so much pitching depth now and we believe in Dobbins to be a key part of the future. So Priester might never get that opportunity to pitch for us in the majors. So the Red Sox executed a trade with the Brewers to where they traded Priester, and in return, they got outfielder Yoferi Rodriguez, a competitive balance round A pick in the 2025 draft, and a player to be named later or cash consideration. So what does all of this mean? I'm going to be explaining that, but first of all, the Red Sox 40-man roster is now at 39, so somebody's going to have to be added to that 40-man roster. Does that mean they call somebody up? Do they pick up somebody? We'll have to see how that goes. But the first piece of the puzzle here is that they acquired outfielder Yoferi Rodriguez, 19 years old, and he is ranked as Milwaukee's number 7 prospect by MLB.com. The left-handed hitter has played in 3 games this season for High A Wisconsin, making 3 starts in center field and batting .417, going 5 for 12, with 3 runs scored, run double, and 1 triple. Originally signed by Milwaukee as an international free agent on January 15th, 2023, the Dominican Republic native has hit .254, going 155 for .610, with 37 doubles, 9 triples, 13 home runs, 96 runs scored, 96 RBIs, and 19 stolen bases in 165 career minor league games. So there are a lot of things about his offense that the Red Sox like. Obviously, he still has time before he even gets talked about as being in the conversation to play in the majors, but he's a good piece that the Red Sox can continue to develop within their system and keep an eye on later on. And he's a top 10 prospect in the Brewers system, which is absolutely huge for the Red Sox. Priester, 24 years old, has made 1 start for AAA Worcester this season, allowing 2 runs in 4 innings on April 3rd in Jacksonville. The right-hander has recorded a .623 ERA, giving up 69 earned runs over 99.2 innings pitched in 21 career major league games, making 15 starts with the Pittsburgh Pirates in 2023 to 2024 and the Red Sox in 2024. Originally selected by the Pirates in the first round, number 18 overall of the 2019 first-year player draft, the Illinois native was acquired by Boston in exchange for minor league infielder Nick York on July 29th, 2024. So definitely some solid stuff there. Not as good as stuff as what Hunter Dobbins showed last night in the game. So the Red Sox probably felt like, okay, we don't really need Priester here. He's not a key piece to the puzzle for us moving forward, and we have so much depth in our system now pitching-wise, and that's what happens when you focus on depth. Craig Breslow made a lot of under-the-radar depth moves this offseason to help fill out those minor league rosters, and as a result, this is the type of trade that you can make, and the Red Sox got a really good return in the deal, including a top 10 Brewers prospect, which is huge. And they also did get a competitive balance round A pick in the upcoming MLB draft. Now, what exactly does that mean? So MLB is trying to make sure that there is no clash between the haves and the have-nots in this sport. They don't want it to be too significant. For a league that lacks a salary cap, the World Series has long been a trophy that's dominated by the biggest spenders. Deep pockets and big checkbooks can mask many issues, though, from poor free agent signings to horrific drafting. So the league's smaller markets in that regard aren't as fortunate. That's not to say the money isn't there, though. To spend or not to spend is often a choice among major league owners rather than an issue related to lack of funding. So that's the key there. You have your big market teams and your small market teams, and some teams are just known to spend more money than others, and that just is what it is. But regardless, in an attempt to put each of the 30 teams on a level playing field, the league instituted a new round of the MLB draft designed to help those clubs that rank at or near the bottom of revenue and market. These competitive balance picks are there to provide MLB's cheaper and smaller market teams, relatively speaking, with an extra prospect who might one day change those fortunes for them. So if a team ranks in the bottom 10 of league revenue or resides in one of the 10 smallest markets, it is eligible for a competitive balance pick in the MLB draft. Most of the time, these categories do overlap, meaning that fewer than 20 picks are actually awarded each year. So from there, the eligible teams are entered into a lottery to determine the order of those picks. The first set of teams are placed into what is called round A, which follows the conclusion of the first round of the draft, and then round B teams fall behind the second round in the draft order. A lottery determines the order of the competitive balance picks, including whether the team finds its selection in round A or B. Those picks can be traded. The only selections in the draft that can change teams. The restriction is that they can only be dealt once. So once a trade is completed, it cannot be moved again, unlike in other leagues. So essentially what this means is that the round A picks start with 30, and the Brewers had pick 33 of the competitive balance round, which is right after the first overall round of the draft. So essentially that's pick number 33. That pick now goes to the Red Sox, who are not allowed to trade it again. So the Red Sox are locked into that 33rd pick because of this trade now that they made with the Brewers in giving them Priester. They get that 33rd pick in that round of the draft now as an extra pick for them, even though that was originally the Brewers' picks. That's a win for the Red Sox because they essentially get an extra first-round draft pick out of the deal. And they also get either a player to be named later or cash considerations. So regardless of who that player is, this is still a good deal for the Red Sox because they got a top 10 prospect in the Brewers system and also a competitive balance pick. So this is a win for Craig Breslow in my book. He sent away a pitcher that the Red Sox didn't really need because they have a lot of depth right now from a pitching standpoint in their system, and they were able to get a really good return. So I'm very happy with Breslow's work. He's done a lot of good things since being with the Red Sox here, and the outlook and approach that he has taken is definitely vastly different from what we have seen in the past with the Red Sox, and they are definitely not messing around. They are here to compete, and I think they're here to stay. So Priester to the Brewers. Hunter Dobbins makes his debut and impresses. Hopefully the Red Sox pitching depth can continue to show itself off, and hopefully Dobbins gets more opportunities moving forward because I definitely would like to see more of him. So there you have it, folks. I am very excited for the rest of this season for the Red Sox. Be sure to tune in tonight to the Red Sox Blue Jays game. Also, I appreciate you making Locked On Red Sox your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's a great way to keep yourself up to date on what's going on around the league and with other games that took place that night. So be sure to tune into that as well. As always, keep the faith. Go Red Sox, and I'll catch you on the flip side.